My name is Femi Oladehin. I'm a chartered accountant and investment banker. I will be taking the class on finance for small businesses. This is Dang Masterclass. For you, who's looking to build a business, the question then is, what are the sources of financing that you need to start think about? I generally will say to people that the first source of financing is friends, family, and foes. I call them, it's FFF. It's friends, families, and foes. And that's your first source of financing. People who can give you money just because it's you, not because they naturally back your vision or back your dreams. They're just thinking, okay, so that we won't get to a family meeting and the guy will say, "Uncle, I asked you for help, you didn't help me." But the truth is that in terms of capital formation, that is the biggest pool of funding that is available to an entrepreneur. Reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, and when you're doing that, you must always be very professional about it. I always say, even if I was going to give money to my brother, we'll sign an agreement. Even if it's just a one-pager that outlines the terms of the investment that I'm giving you, and we'll make sure that when we are discussing it, we're discussing it in a very, very structured manner. Because what that does for you, it also gives you the discipline. At the time when you start to get third-party financing, you have the right discipline in place to ensure that, look, at each point in time, you have a sense of responsibility towards reporting back to people on the performance of the business, as well as returning the capital that you've collected from them. So that's very important. Of course, the government itself has started to try to find ways of getting capital directly to SMEs. So if you look at the Bank of Industry, for example, they're doing quite a lot in trying to get financing directly to people. And the female liberation movement has also gotten to the point where females are even getting, some form of preferential treatment when it comes to development or when it comes to provision of financing. It is preferential, but there's a logic to the madness, and that's the truth. There's statistics that 40 to 50% of new businesses today are being created by women. So that's one. So, but if you think about it,
SME is getting angry.
Well, I always take things from the realistic perspective, as against from the idealistic perspective.
But don't you think that if we're actually doing the business, it's kind of like our right? Why must it be like a preferred?
I think they're trying to encourage
a lot of
because in the past it was we come from Africa. There's a male-dominated world. So they're trying, it's like pushing, getting schemes to support female businesses is more or less it's an incentive for more females to come.
I'll take a different perspective actually. Think about it from this. Today, believe it or not, 70% of households in Africa are run by women. Yes, because what you're saying is this has always been a disadvantaged part of the society. You are isolating that part of the society because you understand that when you bring a woman out of poverty, you bring an entire family out of poverty. So so it's not because they're doing women a favor. It's actually a focus to realize that the economic power in a family sits with the woman. Because the man can have multiple families, the woman would usually be loyal to one cycle. So when a woman is isolated and singled out for that preferential treatment in quotes, the impact is that you bring out, the economic impact is a lot more people benefit from it. We all grew up with parents who were selling pepper, in the market, selling all sorts of things. And you found out that the mother was the one who provided the platform for which most of the kids went to school. And then secondly, women are more disciplined when it comes to paying back loans.
I know a few people that are directors in different SMEs, and what they're borrowing you is money that they got from the banks as well. They're not borrowing you money that they have personally or a foundation gave them. So that's why some of their own fees are high. Because you're borrowing 5% or even 4% a month from an SME bank. In a year, it comes to about 48%. So they pay the bank their 22% or their whatever they've negotiated, and they keep the rest. So whenever the banks are breathing down on them, they come breathing down on you. So it's almost worse sometimes borrowing from the SMEs, because it's supposed to be easier, but they make it harder.
You need to understand the role that a microfinance bank plays in the financial system that we have today. Your MFBs really are not a source of long-term capital, which is why I always say that you should only go to a microfinance bank if you have a project-specific, transaction-specific, opportunity, time-bound. You know that, okay, I'm supplying to these guys, they pay me within 30 days. I do my calculations, maybe my margins are 30%. I know that 15% of that is going towards funding the financing. So it's not you can't use it as permanent capital in your business. You can't. As an entrepreneur, you're not going to be given anything just because you've showed up in the room. You need to invest your own time, your own resources towards building your business. Build your business and present your business in a professional way to people. Even if all you're doing is selling, hair accessories or whatever it is, you want to make sure that when you're speaking to a banker, you've got your books in place. You've got a very good business plan. You've got your budgets in place. Because guess what? The bank is not banking your business. The bank is banking you. He's banking your ideas. He's banking your strategy. Because there are 500 other people that are doing exactly what you do. What singles you out is that extra capacity that you're able to show, to say that I can be trusted, my business is very well structured, I have the right building blocks for my business to survive, and then the bank will take that chance on you.
For an import-driven market or for an import-driven business, considering today's business environment and all the issues we've had with foreign exchange in the last couple of months or years, at what point do you, I think you were mentioning something, or you mentioned something earlier, talking about marking up your exchange rates policy. How do you do that in consideration to your pricing and still remain profitable?
Well, so two things. You're importing your products because you don't have local substitutes.
Yeah.
Your long-term plan must always be to get to the point where you're not importing.
Okay.
Because your exchange rate is an uncontrollable variable. You have no control over that exchange rate. You can't even influence it. You're so inconsequential in the economic policy of Nigeria that you can't influence the exchange rate. So you understand that there is a variable in your business that you have no control over. As an entrepreneur, your job every day you wake up is to drive your business to the point where you're no longer reliant on that source of supply. So two things that become very important for you. One is ensure that in pricing your products, you are able to sell. So let's say you are importing stuff from China, and you were paying when it was 360 naira, when it was 150 naira to $1. Today it's 360. That's a 3-time increase in your costs. But you know that it's going to be almost impossible for you to pass on that direct cost to your customers, because except you are selling life-changing products,
Okay.
the customer would always have an alternative. It's either I buy an iPhone or I go and buy what they call palasa phone, right? I would always make that choice. If an iPhone has gone out of my reach, I'm going to go back to the next best thing that I can afford. So you, as an importer, must always have that at the back of your mind, that if people have alternatives to what I'm doing today, are they going to go for the local alternatives? You know, and if you know they're going to go for the local alternatives, then why don't you become the person that's providing the local alternative? And a good example is that people who used to import flakes that kids eat, you know, today decided to manufacture those things locally because they realized that it was a market. The market had already been established from the import side. Why don't I meet that locally? My costs are lower because I can get my input costs from here, and my distribution cost is lower because I don't have to ship. I'm not paying duties on it. So you're saying almost a 30-40% differential.
You said something about people selling their businesses. I know, like abroad, people start businesses with the intention to sell. Why is that not a prevalent thing in Nigeria? It's because there are no buyers.
No, it's not because there are no buyers. There are buyers. It's because the businesses are not structured to be bought. Because most people build the businesses around themselves.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a business that the moment I buy it off you, all your customers have moved. All your customers move
come back
with
and
you.
sabotage that business.
And you can see, you know, I want to buy an institution. I want to buy an institution. You know, we're seeing it in the tech space today. You know, people are buying up tech companies. Even in Nigeria, people are buying up tech companies. But again, it goes back to what we said. Make sure that your business is structured in a way that allows someone else to come in and says, okay, all the IP, the intellectual property is in the business, not in the person running the business. And that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the IP. And as long as you're not going to walk away with it, they'll be fine.
Hi, I'm John Obidi, and I have a ton of hobbies. You know what I love the most? Making money with little or no stress. Using the iInvest app, I can invest my money in treasury bills and watch it grow in value. You can get started with as little as 100,000 Naira or as much as 100 million Naira. Download the iInvest app from the App Store and the Google Play Store, create your account, and make your first deposit.
The spare part dealers were like examples of SMEs in Nigeria when they started. Considering the fact that they're not structured, they don't keep records, they actually more or less taught us what retail banking is right nowadays because they sell in volumes and expect. Do you think they're good examples of how a successful SME is run?
So let me tell you what the problem with those businesses are, is that you never see them when they go into trouble, when they get into trouble. The reality is that the man's books are in his head. That's where he does all his calculations. He says, I know how much I bought it, I know how much I'm selling it for. But the truth is, because they only think in cash, the reality is, when their businesses go into trouble, they usually don't know until it's too late. He will be looking at his stock, he'll be looking at his cash in the bank and feel, I'm good. But the challenge with that is, when prices move on him, for example, he doesn't know until it's time for him to replace his stock because he doesn't have data. So I wouldn't say, in terms of, from a business point of view, the ability to sell and buy, that worked. But today, in today's world, no, they're not a model business. Because in fact, their own business is even more risky in today's world. Because, again, as technology changes, their goods become more obsolete quicker. So if you don't have data, you can't know that I've had this stock for 6 months. maybe it's time for me to move it on or to sell it at a discount so that I can free up that space. So I think the right model that you should always look at is a model that the big companies or the large conglomerates are running, but you can cascade downwards to yourself and build your business on the basis of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, use a Shell or a Chevron or a Dangote as your role model rather than the mom and pop shop down the road. Entrepreneurship is an interesting journey. And for people who have built businesses from scratch and watched it blossom to the point where they become conglomerates, the pride that you get from it is incomparable. It's like having a child who becomes an Olympian. The pride that you get from it is incomparable. However, you must understand that it's a journey and you can't jump. You must always go through the process of building a proper institution. And that's one of the biggest challenges. I was having a chat with someone in the middle of the week, and we talked about people who built businesses when we were much younger, big family businesses. And today they're no longer there. You don't even, if I mention their names, you won't even remember them if you were not born in that generation. But those businesses are dead today. Why? Because they did not institutionalize the corporate governance that is required for a big organization. So think about it this way. If you've built your business today and you have the discipline to ensure that every money you take out of your business, for example, you sign a voucher for it or you write a check for it, and you're not spending you're not using the business ATM to pay for your coffee. When you become a big PLC, that discipline is already ingrained in the culture of the organization. And that's why most of those businesses died. They did not have a culture of discipline, a culture of ensuring that they had the right corporate governance to keep their businesses going. So for you who's an entrepreneur out there, start right. It's not too late for you to hire an accountant. It's not too late for you to put your books in order. It's not too late for you to do everything that is required, that when you become big, you have that culture already. You're not just learning it. The business is exactly ready for the big time, and I wish you good luck.